Welcome to the Paradise Paradox. Once again, sending you on a rocket ship right up outer space, blasting your head into 1,000 smithereens of pieces of fragments of metaphors, of molecules, of vast expanding universes, twisting your brain into knots as it consciously evolve. This time, it's serious. So, this is part 3 of Andrarchy, or Andrew Levine's interview with me, talking about my strange change, my strange experience with consciousness, mental illness or psychotic break or shamanic awakening, however you want to describe it. Talking about my peyote trip, which gave me a whole different perspective on the events that happened 15 years prior. Also talking about having telepathic communication with horses, because who doesn't want to do that? And also about the dark period which came as part of this. Links to Andrarchy's projects, so you can check him out. Or if you want to go directly, you can check him out at steemit.com. So that's Steemit with 2 E's, steemit.com/@Andrarchy, ANDRARCHY. Of course, check us out on Steemit as well, at Paradise-Paradox, and me at Churdzu, CHURDTZU. You can check all that in the description in the show notes as well. And if you like the show, remember, be generous. Jump on to donate.theparadiseparadox.com. We appreciate all the donations when they come in. You can give by PayPal, send us a few Bitcoins, open up your heart chakra and let that light just beam right out to show you how much you appreciate what we're doing here. We love it when you do that. We get down on our knees and imagine your feet in front of us so we can kiss them to show you that we really love it. It really does make our day when we see a couple of little dollars in there in our Bitcoin wallet or in our PayPal account. So please head on over to donate.theparadiseparadox.com. Remember, neither of us are medical professionals. This isn't supposed to be medical advice, psychiatric advice. If you do have problems, seek out people you trust, and to try to get help and get you back in a healthy or at least stable frame of mind. So let's get into it.
Previously on the Andrarchy Show.
So you're talking about my article about mental illness, or how to take advantage or what to learn from a mental illness, or from an unusual state of mind, we could say. It's not an illness because it's not like there's a lesion, there's no abrasion, there's nothing physical that you can identify. They don't do that. They analyze it through behavior. So it's more of a behavioral issue than a physical issue. People said, well, we have this theory or this hypothesis, and it seems reasonable, and we expect the data to be filled in later. We'll color it in later, and they keep expecting that, but that's not necessarily what's happened. That's just what everyone's assuming. The fact is, like a lot of these things, people would describe as delusions, but some of the things that happened, I would say, were actually true. It's just that I got a little carried away, and started to think, well, if these things that I've been taught are firm and are laws and are, can't happen, are actually happening, then I have to assume that everything I know is wrong, it sent me a little bit over the edge.
Episode 3. What were you doing when the experience began? Do you remember?
Yes. Though I'll just I just want to answer your previous question first, because there's one more model which is even more unusual than the Kundalini thing, but I think for the sake of completeness, I have to include it. So when I took peyote a couple of months ago, I had this experience or hallucination, whatever you want to call it, of contacting some beings which are apparently not of this earth, and they said to me, "Oh, we hope you like the gift that we gave you," and the gift was actually them installing this program in my head, which affected me 15 years prior, which was this strange change, this psychotic experience or spiritual awakening. So, so I'm not sure how seriously people want to consider that, but
option 3,
it's on the table.
The way I would reinterpret that from the viewpoint of my own personal philosophy, which is not to say that I'm saying I'm right, which is that could be a representation of maybe our evolved mechanisms, or maybe that's kind of the collective consciousness communicating with you, as in that is a gift that humanity has gave to you 15 years ago through the process of millions of years of evolution, and then the way your brain deals with that is by symbolizing them into organisms that resemble us but are different, because in order for you to view it as perhaps a positive experience, you have to disconnect it a little bit from ordinary humans. But, you know, I get this is just making shit up, theorizing. But that's how it that's the way I view that, is like, I find it probably unlikely that it's actual aliens, but it could be metaphorical aliens or symbolic aliens or beings or interdimensional beings.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know. Personally, I think it's more likely that there are such beings that can communicate with us. But, you know, there's no way of really knowing. What was the next question? It was about what I was doing.
Yeah, what were you actually doing at the time, or is it not even interesting?
It's kind of interesting. So I remember I was 17, and I was walking home after a night of underage drinking, and the
That's
sun
what did
had
it.
just come up. Sorry.
That's what did it. Don't underage drink.
I don't think that was entirely related. I mean, there may have been. I probably smoked some marijuana that night as well. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, I've done those things too, and I never had that experience.
No, but these things affect different people in different ways, and you know, it is a psychoactive. So, anyway, so yeah, I was walking home in my hometown, and I'm walking across this bridge, and this is a small town, so there's some farms around. There's a horse, there's a bunch of horses just over the fence next to the bridge, and I suddenly thought, I'm going to go over there and talk to that horse spontaneously. There's nothing. I mean, I can't think of any reason why that would enter my head. I wasn't still drunk, or I wasn't very inebriated, though, you know, I was still relaxed, I suppose, from the alcohol. But that wouldn't be a thought that would normally enter my head, like, I'm going to go talk to a horse. I don't know why that came up. But so I went over and had this conversation with the horse, me speaking, and the horse sending me like telepathic messages. So
so you were, from your perspective, you were talking to the horse?
Yes, and the horse was talking back, yes, from my perspective.
In English? Or were you
I
just...
was talking in English, and the horse was apparently receiving the thoughts that I was putting out and transmitting thoughts back.
The way it was translating thoughts back, was it transmitting thoughts in English, or was it like a pure thought?
Pure thought.
Oh, okay.
And that's something that, like I mentioned to you, that change between linear thinking and conceptual thinking, because it's it's a lot harder to think conceptually if you're limited to thinking in words. And a lot of people do, well, at least they claim to only think in words. Of course, they can think in images as well, but then thinking in pure thought, which is something a little lower level, perhaps, not everybody knows how to consciously do that, at least from the conversations I've had. So that's interesting of itself. So, even if we assume that I wasn't having a telepathic conversation with the horse, I'm still getting these concepts which aren't in words, and that's interesting. So yeah, I remember I talked to the horse for a while, and made friends, and I went home, and I was lying in bed, and I did feel this intense energy, this intense ball of energy somewhere around the base of my spine, or in between my crotch and the base of my spine. This huge ball of intense energy. And I guess I've felt things similar to this during meditation, but nothing quite that intense or blatant. So that was interesting. I can't remember exactly what happened after that.
Most people, I think, might respond by going, okay, you were crazy. And and when I was thinking about this, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, crazy is this word like God, where people use it to describe something that they don't understand, that's just too complex or something, but then they act like by using the word that they've somehow explained it. Crazy doesn't mean anything. Like, you can't just go, oh, well, you went crazy. Okay, but what does that mean? Like, what are we talking about? And that's what we've been talking about. That's what we've been trying to explore is, what is actually happening when you have an experience like this. And when you do start to delve in, it takes a lot of like the mystique and the extreme views kind of away from it. And it starts to look a lot more almost mundane, but really, I think it's more interesting. It's like an interesting experience.
More human.
My next question was going to be about the drugs themselves, because I think you have a very interesting perspective to give here, because you've been on antipsychotic drugs, right?
No, I never took the drugs. I never took them. I was, I guess, from the start, I was extremely skeptical about the psychiatric and psychological industry, because I thought that they were going to be trapped in this in this kind of box of thinking. They'd been trained to think in a certain way, and they wouldn't be open-minded to really discuss the kind of experiences that I had. And I think to some extent that prejudice was accurate.
Is that because you didn't want to lose the positive effects? You were taking into account some positives of the experience, and you didn't want to lose those, or?
Yeah, I guess that's part of it. Yeah. And also, I mean, I was having this problem. I would say that at the time I said that demons were attacking me. They're trying to get in my brain. I'm not sure if I don't really think that was accurate or accurately describes what was happening.
That was your flawed way of attempting to communicate what you were feeling inside? Is that?
Yes.
It's like, it feels like demons are attacking me, but so you're saying you didn't actually see demons?
No, but that's, I mean, no, I didn't see them. But I did feel things, and I interpreted it a certain way.
And culturally, we have concepts like demons and stuff like that, so it makes sense that you would try to pull from those cultural concepts.
Yes. Anyway, the point was, I guess, in any case, whether it was demons or just something within me, I didn't feel right. I felt like I was losing my energy and maybe going into a sort of depression. and they were saying in a roundabout way, like these drugs can treat the demons in your head. And I said, well, I don't think they will, because these things are going to act on a physical level, but they're not going to act on a spiritual level. I mean, that's impossible. The drugs are only physical. Or to put it another way, the drugs were only going to treat the symptoms without treating the root cause of the problem. I didn't think they actually knew the root cause of the problem, and I'm still of that opinion. So I decided not to take those drugs, and they had told me. I don't know if they ever said exactly the words, "You'll have to be on these for the rest of your life," but that was the implication, because they said you have to take these and you have to continue taking them, and if you go off them, it's not like if you feel better, then you can go off them and you'll just get better. You won't. And I said, well, obviously that means it's not a real cure. It's just a treatment, or it's like this Band-Aid solution. And yeah, they were basically saying that I would have to be on these drugs for the rest of my life, and that didn't seem right. And it also seemed like they were trying to make me addicted, because one definition of addiction is if you need something, if you need to take a drug every day to feel normal, that's a kind of addiction. So I didn't want to be addicted to any drug. So I didn't. That didn't seem like a viable solution to me.
Yeah, that reminds me of TED Talk. I don't know if we talked about it, but it's the woman who has schizophrenia, and so she hears voices. And I think she also talked about a more broad movement. I think it's called something like People Who Hear Voices. So they're trying to kind of reframe it as like, we're not crazy, we hear voices. We know they're not real. And if you go into a place and you say, I hear voices, and they go, well, these pills will stop the voices. Well, obviously, if your biology is such that it causes you to hear voices that you believe to be real, then you have to take the drugs for the rest of your life, because the moment, if you stop taking them, your biology will kick back in and you'll start hearing them. Whereas the other approach, which she was talking about, and I think is part of the broader movement, is if you can learn to understand that the voices are signaling things to you, to your conscious mind, about your biological state, for example, that you're undergoing stress. Like now, when she hears the voices, she goes, wait, what's going on in my life? I'm clearly feeling stress, because that's when the voices get loudest. Now you can continue to hear the voices. You're not fighting your own biology, but you're living a totally functional, fulfilled, happy life, at least if you can, at least if you have your life in order or whatever.
Yes, and in that case, I'd even say the voices are positive, because they're acting as a guide. And this is an interesting thing too, because everybody, just about every culture in the world, accepts that it's normal to have things like that, auditory hallucinations, or hearing things, seeing things as well, having visions, completely normal. But not in Western English-speaking countries, there's a handful of countries which don't accept that, and that tends to be the countries in which the voices are negative. So people can hear voices all over the world, but if you're Indian and you live in India, and you start hearing voices, they might even be encouraging. They will help you. They'll say positive things, and so it's this other part of perception. When we block it out, when we deny it, when we deny maybe what we really are, it starts seeking expression in other ways, and not necessarily positive ones. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you can find Andrarchy, Andrew Levine, on Steemit. Steemit with 2 E's, steemit.com/@Andrarchy, ANDRARCHY. You can find us at Paradise-Paradox and me at Churdzu, CHURDTZU. So find us on there, look us out, look us up, give some comments, send Andrew a message and or a comment and tell him how much you love his show. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. And remember, if you like the show, please, we love your donations. It makes us feel happy. It makes us feel like we're doing something important and interesting to people, entertaining and surprising and amazing, when you go on to donate.theparadiseparadox.com and give us a little tip. So suggest a donation, $1 per episode that you like, but feel free to give more or less. We will probably experience the same amount of dopamine and serotonin release regardless of how much you give. So please donate.theparadiseparadox.com. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Open your heart, open your mind, and stay open to new experiences. Peace.